All right, I'm Chris Avina with American Outdoor News. I'm here with my friend Nick Hoffman, the host of Nick's Wild Ride, musician, speaker extraordinaire. Nick, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, buddy. I'm glad to be here. I'm back. I'm back.
You're like a repeat offender.
Yeah, but it's like every 2 years. You know what I mean? So, are you really an offender if it's every 2 years? Really?
Depends on who the audience is. They
That's
might be
right,
offended.
exactly. So, like, I figured that the way I look at it is, it takes me 2 years to recover
Yeah.
from being here with you, and it takes me, like after 2 years, you're like, oh, it's like childbirth. I'm sure that's what it's like. You're never gonna. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. And then 2 years later, you're like, oh, that
And
wasn't
here it
that bad. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding.
Now, you've built a career on storytelling in two very different mediums through music and television. Um, what what lessons from hunting camp have influenced your songwriting, and um, how has your music influenced your storytelling or made you a better storyteller?
What a great question, man. I never heard it put quite like that. I do view myself as a storyteller, and it not very often do people bring that part of it up. You know, Songwriters in general are storytellers. My favorite songs paint pictures that are stories. My favorite songs are story songs, and with Nick's Wild Ride, when I started doing the television show, coming from the music background, my favorite television shows were hosted by storytellers, people that really wove the story of the place they went to together. People like Anthony Bourdain, you know what I mean? And so it means a lot to me that you put that storyteller label on me, because that is what I'm trying to do with both my music and my show. So I appreciate that. What I've learned is that life in general, and then definitely my television show and my music, are about people and the study of people. Sure, I'm out there hunting or I'm out there playing music, but for me, hunting is about so much more than killing. It's about the people and the culture and the history and the food and the places you go and the people you meet. And to tell a good story, you have to understand people, I think, or at least be authentic about your understanding and your view of people. And then you also have to be willing to do everything you can to connect with those people. And so, like I said, I think the art of storytelling is the art of studying and paying attention and being aware of people and humanity and the world around us, And so, if I've learned anything, it's that I need to be more present and be more aware of the personal side of music and the personal side of hunting and the people that make it go around. I can't tell a good story unless I understand what people want to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I've gotten better at it over the years. I think I probably have a natural sense of that to a certain extent, but it's an art. It is. Storytelling is an art, and I think I took it for granted when I first started doing the TV show. I think it's no different than, I'm going to write a book. Well, look, if you've never written before, it's just like painting. If you've never painted before, you might be able to paint something that's fairly okay, but it takes a lifetime to master painting. And I think I'm now realizing that it takes a lifetime to master storytelling. And it's a lifelong pursuit, just like hunting, just like music, just like writing, just like painting, just like all these things. It's an art. And man, have I enjoyed being able to practice that art. And I don't profess to be an expert at it, but I sure love doing it.
It's fun, isn't it?
It is.
Now, Nick's Wild Ride, you take your viewers around the world, uh, and they experience different cultures, different lifestyles, different conservation models. Um, was there a particular experience that changed the way that you see or think about conservation and the way that hunters protect wildlife?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right away, the first thing that comes to mind is my first time in Africa, which has become like such a big part of my life. Going on safari and going not only just hunting in Africa, but being in Africa and exploring the different parts of the places we can hunt in Africa have been life changing, and they haven't been life changing just on the conservation angle, which I'll talk about in a second, but on a personal level, the people. I mean, when you go there and you see people living in what we would consider to be absolute destitute third world conditions, and then you see their level of happiness, it makes you realize really fast just how easy it is really to be happy if you let yourself be happy. We concern ourselves and find unhappiness in the clutter and accumulation of things and of worrying about money and worrying about all these things, which I'm not saying you shouldn't worry about those things, but I have learned in Africa that you can have nothing and still be happy. Very, very happy. Some of the happiest people I've ever met are in Africa, and they literally live in a shack made from roofing panels with dirt floors, and boil in the summer and freeze in the winter, and yet there's always a smile on their face. And I've seen that in other places too. So on a conservation level, which was your question, Africa really showcases very quickly to anyone who goes there how important giving animals value is. Because the North American model showcases that definitely, that when we give animals value, we keep them around, but it is really laid bare in Africa. The best example that I can think of, like one not the best example, but a great example is the eland in Namibia, for example. When the first safari I was there, my guide Jamie was telling me about when he was a kid, they used to still have big migrations of eland. These things are twice the size of a cow. They're huge, huge, huge animals. And there would be migrations of thousands of them, and they would come through the town, and they would stop traffic, and they would, and then he said in his lifetime, in about 10 or 12 years, that just stopped. And there was reasons for that. One of the reasons is that the farmers killed them all for food, and they killed them all because they competed with livestock. They started putting fences up that to keep livestock in, that impacted the migration routes, and eventually, here we are, there's no more eland, right? Well, when hunters started coming over there and giving value to these eland, saying, I'll pay, if you keep those around, if they're here, I'll pay big money to hunt one of those things, suddenly it becomes an economic driver. And within about 15 or 20 years, suddenly there's a lot more eland in Namibia because of that, because hunters want to come over there and hunt them. Well, that doesn't mean we're just going over there to kill them all. It means that they want to conserve them so that there's as many eland as possible, and they're willing to let the eland compete with their cattle because they're worth something. And if they aren't worth something, then they'll just kill them. They'll eat them. They'll get rid of them because they're a nuisance to them because of their farm. And so I was a long way around to tell you that when I saw the conservation model in Africa of if it pays, it stays, I had heard about that. I'd seen it, but we kind of take it for granted here in the United States now. That was a life-changing thing for me, because then I immediately go, how do I not only get more of this in my life, but how do I help? How do I help some of these animals that don't get as much of that kind of if it pays, it stays mentality behind them. Right now, I'm really, really passionate about helping the rhino population and helping figure out ways to help the rhinos sustainably pay for themselves, so that more people want to take on the burden of caring for them and protecting them and all that stuff. So I don't know. It was a life-changing thing. I've since been back, a bazillion times, and I go back once or twice a year, and I'm really involved in conservation over there, and it's been a passionate thing. Long answer, but Africa, man.
Well, the conservation there works here as well. I mean, I had spoken to Travis Tritt, and he's a Georgia boy, and he said growing up, if they saw a deer track, that was exciting.
Yep.
Now deer are everywhere.
Right.
Our conservation model has made the deer population flourish down there.
Same way in my home state of Minnesota. Growing up, my grandfathers didn't hunt, and a big part of the reason was that most likely I never got to ask them about it, but I'm sure a big part of it was there were no deer. There wasn't anything really to hunt. There were no turkeys in Minnesota growing up either. When I was growing up, there were no turkeys. There's turkeys everywhere in Minnesota now. And the reason for that is that sportsmen are driving. Yeah, sportsmen are driving that. That's not people in Minneapolis saying, "Oh, we really need turkeys." No, that's sportsmen driving that. That's sportsmen paying for that. That's license dollars and hunting dollars and SCI conservation dollars and all these different things heading into paying for that. And that makes me proud to be a sportsman. It really does.
Sure. Now, as looking at your hat, as somebody who's actively involved with Safari Club International, we've seen opportunities, we've seen challenges facing hunters today. What do you believe that SCI must do over the next decade or so to ensure that hunting remains relevant to the younger generation, people who may not be active in the outdoors? What do you think we need to do?
Well, I think you just nailed it. You kind of, in a lot of ways, right in your question there, answered it, which is youth and people that don't hunt. Engaging. It's one thing to preach to the already people that are in the choir, right? Where speaking to hunters about why hunting is important and convincing hunters that people that already do it, that how important it is. That's not that big of a deal. But what we need is recruitment, and we need youth, and we need also we need people that don't hunt to support and understand the value of hunting. And I honestly, you asked, what does SCI need to do to change? I don't necessarily know. I think we're headed in the right direction. I don't know that SCI necessarily has this huge cataclysmic change that needs to happen. I think we just need to keep on expanding on what we're already expanding on, which is being inclusive and being being a club that says, hey, even though you don't hunt, convention is really fun. You know what I mean? You should come see what we do, because as soon as somebody comes and sees that for us hunting is about so much more than killing, like I said earlier, well, then they suddenly go, oh, well, I might not want to do that, but I think it's really cool what you're doing. I think it's really cool that you're supporting conservation, that you're saving the rhinos, that you're saving the elephants, that you're saving the eland, that you're saving the white-tailed deer, that you're fighting for the deer on Catalina in California. Like, who can argue with that? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, who can argue that that's not a good thing? Because it is. And so I think we're on the right track. And, I can honestly say that when I first started with SCI, I don't know that I could have said that I think there was a lot of room to improve. And there's always room to improve. And there's always things we can do. But, man, the current administration that we have, that's headed up by Laird, and now Louis is COO, and and of course, just this incredible staff that they have put in place. You know, the last 10 years of Safari Club have seen a lot of change, and I think it's all headed in the right direction. I really do. And again, that goes back to being inclusive, man. It doesn't have to just be a club just for hunters. It should be, at least bare minimum, we need to be talking to the people and letting people that don't hunt know what we do, and that we're not just out there collecting heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard thing to do, because it is a strange thing. Let's be honest. It's a strange thing for people that don't hunt to understand that we love and protect the things that we hunt. That's a really hard thing for a lot of people to get their heads around. And,
right.
you know?
Well, you know, I think many people, they see hunting solely through the lens of harvesting the animal, where I believe that experienced hunters, people who have been doing it their whole life, they describe it as something a little deeper.
Absolutely. For me, it's spiritual. It is an absolutely spiritual thing. And again, that's really hard for somebody that doesn't hunt, for them to understand. But I found that when I start to explain it to them a little bit better, that it is about so much more. A hunting for me isn't about the act of pulling a trigger. That's a culmination, maybe, and sometimes that's maybe, you know, the high point in a lot of ways, but it's not the best part. In fact, you know, you used the word harvest earlier, which I have no problem with at all. But I've really started to embrace going back to the word killing, because let's be honest, that's what it is. And I say that because it is spiritual for me, and I don't take it lightly. Honestly, as a hunter, I really, really, really love hunting. I love everything around it. I don't necessarily enjoy killing. To me, that is a emotional, spiritual thing that I don't take lightly. You know what I mean? Like the act of killing an animal and taking its life is something that, for me, is not only, you know, spiritual, like I said, but it's also important. You know, there's a management angle to that is an unfortunate part of human existence. You know, if we're gonna continue to encroach on habitat and you know, and change the world, change the earth as we know it, then we have the duty to conserve and manage the animals that we have displaced. You know what I mean? And so I see it as a heavy spiritual responsibility, and I'm not afraid to use the word killing, because I think it's important to acknowledge that's what we're doing. And for me, when I took my daughter for her first hunt, that was the one thing I wanted to impress upon her, is it's okay to be a little emotional about this. It's okay to feel a little bit reticent about the idea that you just took a life. Because if you don't, I think there's something wrong with you. You know what I mean? Like sitting out there and just there's definitely, you know, I know there's probably people that are rolling their eyes right now because they don't see it like that, but that's how I see it. I really do. I see it as not only a responsibility, but a spiritual act. And you know, for a lot, you know, if you're a religious person, you see it as a God-given right, you know, that's in the Bible. And for those that aren't religious, or that have a different type of things, like the Native Americans, it's always been spiritual for humans, always. And I see it like that.
Uh-huh.
So.
Well, you know, there's, you know, like when people first start hunting, they might not be prepared or ready to pull the trigger.
Yep.
And that's fine.
Absolutely. Because there's so much more to a hunt. Yeah, there's so much more to a hunt than that. You know, the act of getting up, just getting up in the morning and watching the morning come alive, getting up before sunrise and watching the morning come alive. These are things that most people don't do unless you go hunting. You know what I mean? Like, most people don't get up at 4 a.m. and go out in the dark and then watch the morning come alive. That's a magical thing. And most people have. I'll take people on their first hunts and they sit around a campfire and, you know, tell stories at night, and then we get done and they've harvested an animal for their first time, and then on the way home they go, you know what my favorite part was? the campfire. You know, and
Big part of it.
that's been the tale since the beginning of humans and beginning of hunting. You know, is stories told around the campfire are the essence of who we are as humans. And I think all this whole hunting thing, modern hunting thing is a way of connecting with our prehistoric selves. I really do. I think that we're connecting with our soul in a way that we don't fully understand. I do. At least it is. That's the way it is for me. Not to get all heady and emotional and spiritual about it, but that's how I feel about it.
No, I do agree with you on that. It is a big part of it, and it's something that we've been doing since the dawn of time.
Yep, exactly. And I think we're connecting with that when we go out there, even now today, even with all our expensive gear and our fancy guns and our fancy binos and our camo and our great boots and all the stuff. Like we're still the core of it is still trying to reach out and connect with that part of us that's still in there somehow. The part of us, I'm saying, that needed to do it to survive. We don't need to do it to survive anymore. There's no doubt about it. We're doing it for fun. We're doing it for conservation. We're doing it for, whatever the other reasons are that what it means to you. But for me, there's definitely a spiritual part that is I'm trying to feed, which is I know that deep down I need that. I've been that kid. I didn't grow up in a hunting family. Nobody in my family hunted.
Mine either.
But for whatever reason, I wanted to do it. From the earliest age, I was just telling this story yesterday. I used to go and walk through the ditches in around our farm and flush pheasants for fun. Because like a little kid, I'd just walk around the desert like a bird dog. I would just run around and flush pheasants. I didn't realize that was the part of me that wants to hunt, that's deep down wired in me, wired to be a hunter, not a gatherer. That was coming out before I realized it. I used to walk through the woods when I was a little kid and track deer and try and sneak up on bedded does and stuff like that. That's the part of me that is wired to be a hunter. That's so innate and so deep in me that I didn't realize it till later on that that's what that was. It wasn't until I was 12 or 13 years old that a neighbor took me hunting for the first time that changed my life. But my point is, some people are wired to be hunters and some people are wired to be gatherers, and it's in our DNA. You know what I mean?
You were like a bird dog that's never actually been on a hunt. It's in
exactly,
your blood.
Yeah, the one, the bird, the pointer that's never been on a hunt but still points. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And points at squirrels and stuff like that. I mean, that's exactly what it was. And now I can't imagine my life without it. I mean, it is as big a part of who I am as being married to my wife and being the father of my daughter. It is in the core of who I am.
It's part of what you are.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are running out of time, but I definitely would like to thank you again for coming on. I know
did I talk too long already? I've been just sitting here just rambling. We don't have to quit. We can keep on going, man.
My equipment's crapping out.
Get rid of this guy. He talks too much.
But I know you're now streaming on YouTube, Nick's Wild Ride. You can watch it on YouTube. Where else can we see your show?
Brand new episodes, brand new season starts on Outdoor Channel in September. Really excited about that. A lot of really, really, really cool adventures all over the world, and then of course Instagram and Facebook. Every YouTube, everything's at Nick's Wild Ride. Very easy, and it's nickswildride.net on the web. So, please come join the ride if you're not already. I would love to have you. And of course, I'm always at SCI convention every year. If you haven't been to National Convention in Nashville, bring it on. My hometown now, and I love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, but try and get a second to speak to you while you're at the convention.
It's tough. Man, I run around like a chicken with my head cut off there. SCI works me like a rented mule, and I love it though because, it's a good way for me to be able to, it's one way that I have that I can give back to the club, is by being a bit of an ambassador and hosting some of the evening events and stuff. I love it. I really do. And it's a big family reunion. And yeah, it's a busy week, but it's my favorite week of the year.
I agree. It's going to be a hectic week because it overlaps with SHOT Show. So we're flying from Vegas to Nashville to wherever.
Exactly.
But,
crazy.
All right. Definitely sign on to Nick's Wild Ride. You're not going to be disappointed. If you're in the Long Island area, check out our website, AmericanOutdoorNews.com. We have the Boots, Buckles, and Backstraps fundraiser for Safari Club International. It's going to be an amazing event.
It sounds amazing. When is that again? What's the date?
September 17th.
That's great.
It's a Thursday night. It's going to be fun. We have some great sponsors. We've had some amazing product donations. There's going to be some really good raffles and silent auctions, and we're going to have a DJ. We're sponsored by Wild Fork Foods, so you're going to have wild game platters. Delicato Wines is going to be doing a wine tasting. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. It's going to be a lot of fun, so definitely go to AmericanOutdoorNews.com, buy your tickets today. You are not going to be disappointed. It's going to be the event of the season.
Yeah, and also you're raising money for a great cause, like we talked about. I mean, keeping animals and keeping our fighting for our rights to hunt. I mean, what's not to love, right? Go have some fun. Go drink some wine. Sounds like a blast.
Yeah. Well, if you're a gun owner, you join the NRA. If you're a hunter, you join SCI.
That's right.
They're the guardians of our legacy.
Yep, that's right. We're the only organization like that with a hunter's embassy in D.C. that's fighting on the Hill every day, and I'm proud of it.
Right.
Yep.
All right. I appreciate you taking the time to speak to us again, Nick, and it's always great to see you.
Well, likewise, and thank you for everything you do, brother. Keep up the good fight.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do, from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstance, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the hardest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a non-profit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference.